Welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of a series that discusses the UK CPSA and the US NSCA. This time we're asking, how many shotgun shooters are there in the UK? Iain talks to the ammunition manufacturers and gets some insight from their sales data. How exactly is the CPSA funded? Where is that money coming from? And what's the direct value to members? We discuss working with the clubs, organising large shoots, and raising the quality bar.
Before you were kind of talking about membership sizes, the way it breaks down in the US, we have a national lobby, NSSF. They say that something like there's 30 million people shooting a shotgun in the United States, okay?
Yeah.
That might be more of a political number than it is a real number. That may be, a guy who shoots 6 shells at a turkey every year. I'm not sure, but that's a very big number. And then kind of one level down from that, there's 30,000 NSCA members, right? So those are sporting clay only members. And then one level down from that, I've heard various estimates, but there's a maybe 3,000 kind of active members and people who are really shooting registered targets, right? So you go from pretty big numbers, 30 million to 30,000 to 3,000, right? And then it certainly feels like when you travel around to regionals in the United States, it's the same 300 or 400 people. You kind of get the sense, right?
Yeah.
So is there a similar waterfall of participation in the UK, and what do those ratios look like for you? And is that even something you really concern yourself with?
Oh yeah, very much so. Because the membership side, it's our only income from the CPSA's point of view. We're a not-for-profit organisation. We don't have that element that we've got to make a profit. But at the same time, all our income comes in from membership. So it's something we focus on weekly of what are the membership numbers. If you look at the same sort of figures, that one of the things that gets quoted at me quite a bit is there's 500,000 shotgun certificate holders in the UK. Now, in American terms, nothing. But in the UK, it's getting harder and harder to get a shotgun certificate. You used to be able to get them at the post office. But that was the long gone days. Now it can take over a year to get a shotgun certificate.
Wow.
So as a sport, that's one of the challenges that we have, is there isn't another sport I can think of out there that if you want to take it up, you potentially have got to wait a year to buy your shotgun in the UK.
Or have to go to the government at all to get equipment.
Exactly, and that's to get your license, and you have to get a shotgun certificate before you can buy a shotgun.
Is that certificate to own a shotgun or discharge a shotgun?
To own a shotgun.
Yes,
and have it at your property. And there's an application process, a fee. You then have an inspection at your house. They're now bringing in an interview process with your spouse or partner as well, so the police and the Home Office are definitely bringing in extra layers of safety.
I can hear the arguments for that, but we got enough to talk about. We could go deep down this rabbit hole.
We could go a whole other. I spend a lot of my time on legislation, a lot of my time in Whitehall in London with the government, with the Home Office. But we can do another one on legislation, because that's not the most exciting one, but a really critical one. 500,000 current certificate holders. Now that trend is actually going down. It's gone down 20% in 10 years. The number of people with certificates. And if you don't have a certificate, you can't have a shotgun. So that's one of our challenges for sure, because if you can't get into the sport, why would you become a member of the CPSA? But if you take 500,000 certificate holders, a big chunk of them are game shooters, farmers, people with a shotgun who do pest control, things like that. So that's how you take down the numbers. One way I worked it out as a rough number, it's an interesting way to do it, is to go to the cartridge companies and ask them, what cartridge sales for clay shooting shells do you have? Give me those numbers, because that'll give me a starting point of how many recreational shooters are using them. And then I can work out how many out of that 500,000 actually go and shoot clays.
Right.
Because the other people that are shooting pest control, pigeons on a farm or something, they're never going to join the CPSA. There's no need for them. But if somebody's a clay shooter and they go off and buy clay shells, chances are they might be, if I can communicate with them, join the CPSA.
Yeah. This gives you addressable market.
Yeah. And when I worked that out, I got to about 120,000 people who shoot clays of some sort. And that's probably, I think, a fair number. It might be 100,000, it might be 140,000, but I think that's a fair number. So when you actually take our percentage of 22,500 members of that, it's actually a chunk.
It's a big number, yeah.
Yeah. So I think you've got to get that realistic number. So if in America somebody's challenged of, oh, there's 30 million shotgun users, I think what you've got to do is look at how many of them are clay shooters. As you say, not just people that go out once a year and shoot a turkey when turkey season opens.
You mentioned funding. How does the CPSA fund itself, and the operations of the staff and championships, and like where does the line essentially of financial responsibility fall for CPSA?
Sort of stops with me as far as running our budget and delivering that budget. And as I said, we're classified as a not-for-profit organization. That's our sort of legal status in the UK. And our role is to do everything within our remit, on our list, deliver it within our budget. Our income is purely from membership. That's where it comes from. We don't get any money from the government. And we don't charge a levy on registered shoots. It is purely our operating money for the staff and for all of our other things that we do comes from membership income.
So dues,
membership dues, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, what are your membership dues?
Ranges, obviously for the different categories, depending on whether it's colts, juniors, all the way up to veterans. But it ranges from sort of, £60 up to £79.
Yeah, so that's more expensive than NSCA dues by roughly 2x, I would think.
Okay.
But in the NSCA, we're paying target fees.
Yeah. And I think the difference is, correct me if I'm wrong, the NSCA, we give insurance, quite a robust insurance package with your membership that covers you for personal liability, accident.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite a good, or very good market leading from a shooting point of view. Even things like license revocation. So if the police come along and take your license off you, we offer legal cover to help you get your license back if it's justified.
Wow.
And we have a lawyer that will represent you. So we offer that to our members as well. And then we cover multiple sports, not just clay shooting. If you're one of our members, and a lot of our members will game shoot, will deer stalk maybe, hunt, fish, and our membership covers you for accident, personal liability for all of those sports as well. We also give or produce our own full magazine every month. That gets sent out to the membership. And that covers everything from products through to competitions, through to instruction. And that goes out every month to all 22,500 members.
So, you mentioned before you have a background in brand management and specifically in golf. I used to play Mizuho irons, actually, back when I played golf. What do you think? There's a lot of comparisons in the U.S. get drawn between, or I would say people like to invite golf comparisons to sporting clays in the United States. What, you actually lived it. What were the lessons that you have brought from the golf marketing and branding and organization world to CPSA, in your 8-ish or so years there?
Yeah, and I think as I mentioned before, when I started, we don't actually have an actual physical product. But when I sat down with the team and with the directors, and I think even when I did my pitch to the directors for the job, I sort of, that was my focus. If you do have a product, the product is the membership, the actual membership package. So how do we make that value for money? How do we make it that somebody who doesn't need to be a member, you've got to have a necessity to join and they want to join. And then when you look at the actual things that we do, whether it's at grassroots level, when we go to the game fairs and we run a have-a-go line for people who've never shot before, how do we make that experience, that product for them, that experience as good as it can be so then they want to do it again? We're a governing body, but we've got to be a friendly governing body to get people into the sport. And then we have to be a controlling governing body for once people are in the sport to make our product better. So what I mean by that is when you look at our championships and where they were 5-6 years ago to where they are now, I think they're in a much better place. I think they're run and delivered in a much more professional way. And we've got much better sponsorship and partnership from the industry than we had 5-6 years ago. And I balance that by they want to be associated with our championships now because they're a much better springboard, a much better place to present their brands.
But you're focused on delivering an experience.
And I think when you look at our championships now, whether it's from when you drive in and arrive to the signage, to the trade village, to the parking, to the food that's on offer, to even before you get the gun out the slip and pull the trigger on a target, that's part for me the experience side of when you get there to when you leave. You're paying for a service. You're a client, whether you're a C-class shooter or a treble A shot, whether you shoot badly or shoot extremely well, we've got to give you an experience no different than going to a restaurant. And that goes right the way through to things like referees. All of our referees at our championships are all qualified referees. And it's got to be fair. Of course, they're going to make mistakes. They're human. But we have to give them that support. Even things like targets, and the grounds that we go to used to be on a rota. We've changed that, and it's now not on a rota, so it's not automatic where we take our championships to. We put them at very few grounds, to be honest, because as the championships have got bigger and better, it means there's less grounds that can actually deliver them. Right. And deliver them to a level that we ask them to. And we, as the CPSA, are very involved in that championship, from selecting the ground to working with them months before they even start putting the targets out to where's the village going to be, where are the trade stands going to be, where's the toilets and facilities going to be.
And CPSA is very involved in that?
Absolutely, yeah. So when we had the English Open just a couple of weeks ago, it was at Doveridge. When we awarded them the contract for the competition, I think 6 months before, we had a first initial meeting where we walk around the ground with the owner. We start saying, what are you thinking about here? Where are you going to put the pool shoots? Where are you going to put the trade stands? Where are you going to put the flags even, and the signage in the village so people know how to get here who haven't been here before? Follow that through all the way through to when they're setting the course. We actually go and pre-shoot the course. We'll shoot it with a C-class shooter, a B-class shooter, all the way through to a double A, maybe even a treble A shot, as long as they're not competing. And then we'll have the sponsors shoot it as well. That's more of a fun day, the day before the competition. But what it means is we get a good idea of the course before it actually opens, and we can make some minor changes. And it's good for the ground owner. Even things like moving stands away from buggy cart tracks, or walking around and saying, we could do with some more benches and some more seating here. So we sort of pre-shoot the course, pre-test it. Safety is a big part of that check as well, where we might say, okay, that bit needs to be gated or roped off because there's an arc of fire that goes over there. And we do that for every championship.
I'm
And with that, it's time to wrap it up. We hope you found this interview entertaining. If you have, hit that like button and leave us a note in the comments. We look forward to your feedback. Coming up later in the series, referee accreditation, their classification system, and many more topics. Please join us.